This is Andi Purewal for Boxing News. I'm joined by Andy Lee out here in Saudi Arabia. Andy, believe it or not, this is the first time that I've actually ever interviewed you. I know Rob usually has the pleasure of doing these, so it's good to speak to you for the first time. How are you?
Yeah, good, very good.
Glad to hear it. Here we are, Joseph Parker, Deontay Wilder, massive fight for Joe. Andy, how much do you enjoy having a fighter such as Joe, who will literally step in the ring with anybody? He's fought Anthony Joshua, he's fought Andy Ruiz, he's fought Joe Joyce, Deontay Wilder. The only man who he probably would never fight is obviously Tyson. It must be refreshing to have somebody who will take on any challenge presented to him.
I find most fighters will fight. Ones I work with anyway. I've never had an issue with a fighter declining the fight. Sometimes I'm the one who's saying, let's not take that fight. But Joe is a pleasure to work with. As you know, he's the nicest person you'll ever meet, and he will do anything I ask him to do. He'll go to the depths of his physical capabilities and push himself every day if I ask him to. But it's been a pleasure, and it's been a very good training camp. We didn't have long rest after the last fight. He took a couple of weeks off. And then we got straight back into it. So he's coming off the back of a good win and a good camp. So there wasn't a whole lot to do this time around. Just carry on a continuation, which is so good, which is a rarity these days. The first few weeks of a training camp, you're just trying to get back to where you once were. But this time we picked straight back up, and it's been good.
You mentioned how sometimes it's you who might think it's maybe best to not have a certain fight at a certain point. Did you have any reservations about the Deontay Wilder fight?
I thought about it, yeah, maybe. I took 2 hours to think about it. Spoke to a couple of people, spoke to my brother, Roger, spoke to Adam Booth, got their opinion, spoke to Sugar Hill. It's all I find the more you ask people, the more opinions, sometimes not a good thing. Sometimes you have to back yourself and trust yourself. My initial gut feeling was this is a good fight for Joseph. At this time in his career, coming off 3 good wins this year. And we need challenges. We need to. What are we in the game for? If we're not going to fight the best. We're not here just to tread water. We want challenges, and that's what it is.
Going into this fight, a lot of people have kind of predicted if it's going to go one of two ways. Maybe Deontay by stoppage or Joe by points. When you've prepared Joe for this fight, and I know obviously you've been in camp with Tyson preparing him for Deontay, but is it as simple as Deontay's best attribute is just that right hand, or what else does Deontay bring to the fight which Joe needs to be wary and careful around?
He has a good jab. He's got great speed. His ability to leap in and jump from a far distance when you might be great instincts as well. Where that's why he's got these knockouts. It's very hard to stay concentrated for every second of every round, and he has that instinct. When he just sees it in that moment, he can make that switch where he goes from completely out of distance to within distance, landing the right hand, and it's good night for all of his opponents except Tyson. That's what I'd say. He's got good speed, he's got great power, obviously, and his instincts.
How does Joe go about having his hand raised on Saturday night? I know you can't give too much away because you'll have your game plan, but I don't expect we'll see the version of what we saw Tyson Fury overcome Deontay, unless you disagree with that.
No, it's not rocket science, but there's no need to complicate boxing. It's a very simple sport, boxing. And I know people go into depth with film footage analysis, but I can look at a fighter and within 10 minutes I know if my guy can win or not. And Joe just has to take his opportunity when it comes. And that's what we're preparing for. Be sharp, jab up and down, feints. When the exchange lets your hands go. Deontay will be open, he gives you opportunities. He's not a defensive master. He's an offensive fighter. And that's what happens with most offensive fighters, that they're open to being hit themselves. So it'll be a shootout, if you ask me. Could be very quiet at times, and then when they do engage, it'll be one might fall. One will fall. I think it could be an early fight for either. Listen, we know Deontay, but we know Joe has a great chin. Joe got stopped by Joyce, but it was more of exhaustion. He's sick going into the fight. But listen, we know what Joe is. I know what my fighter is. It's a great thing when you know what's inside of him. When he'll go to that place, he'll go to the well if it's called on. Hopefully, it's not called on.
We know with Deontay, he hasn't been the most active since his final loss to Tyson. Do you think that's going to be key? It's been over a year since he fought. You mentioned Joe having fought 3 times this year. How key will that activity be?
Yeah, I think it's a huge benefit to Joseph. It's one of the, one small part of why Joseph will win the fight. But no excuses. Deontay's coming in. He's the man. He's the big show really. And it's a good situation for Joe because there's no real pressure on him. People aren't expecting him. But I know what Joe can do, and I know I've been saying it for years. If Joe can fulfill his potential, he can beat them all. I watch all. I'm a commentator with DAZN, so I'm ringside with all these big fights, and I know what Joseph can do. And if you can just he doesn't have to do nothing. Like you don't have to do nothing extra that he has. If you can just box the way he's training now, what he's been showing me in the gym, sparring with Tyson, sparring with Okolie, sparring with Adrian King, sparring with Adam Alanian, sparring with Martin McDonough. I think if you can just do that, we don't have to do nothing special.
How much has Joe lent on Tyson for advice?
Well, Tyson was in Jeddah. We went to Morecambe. He came back from Jeddah. We had him in the car park, walked to him, and Tyson said, "This is what you have to do." And it was so gratifying for me because it was exactly what I had been telling Joseph, for all those weeks before. So we're all on the same page.
Obviously, you mentioned Lawrence Okolie coming in for sparring as well. Again, I know Tyson used him. What were the benefits of bringing in Lawrence? Was it as simple as his height and his reach, trying to replicate what Deontay does?
And he's a champion. He's not a sparring partner. And he came to win. And that's what you want. You don't want guys just trying to survive. He came to win. You want that competitive edge.
There's a lot of talk, Andy, about that potential Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder fight in March. What's been your thoughts on hearing about those rumours in the background? Do you have any concerns that if there's a fight already being spoken about, potentially being done and agreed, it might not be favourable for Joe if it was to go to the cards, if there's a fight already lined up?
Oh, we're not even worried about the cards. I don't think it's going to be go the full distance, this fight. But it could be a distraction for Wilder. It could be. All the questions who he's being asked about are Joshua. We're being asked about Wilder. Could be a distraction for him.
Just obviously away from that, just get an update on Tyson. How's he looking ahead of February 17th?
Yeah, I can't really say too much about Tyson. He's not my fighter, but we only had a few days with him in the gym in Morecambe. He's lost quite a bit of weight. He looks in great shape. He came in after being in Jeddah. He did 6 rounds straight with Joe. Went on the back for 2 rounds, and then jumped in with Adrian King and gave him a few rounds. So that'll tell you the shape he's in. Coming off a holiday, coming off a flight from Jeddah, straight into the gym. There are many reasons why that Ngannou performance happened, and we all know what they are.
Sorry to interrupt there, and that's something I want to ask. Obviously, a lot of people have maybe raised question marks over Tyson, if he's on the decline slightly, if maybe his punch resistance has dropped at all. Do you guys in the gym and you guys and somebody who's so close to Tyson, no worries or concerns on that front whatsoever?
No, not that he's on the decline or that his punches. No, definitely not. But it was actually a blessing in disguise, this Ngannou performance, because it sharpens everybody up, everybody. Even me, I underestimated Ngannou. I certainly did. So good lesson for us all.
What's his current training situation? Because I know, so I caught up with Sugar out in Vegas because he obviously had a fight. He had Ergashev facing Matias, and then obviously he was training with Ben Whittaker on the 10th. And I don't believe up until that point he had been in camp with Tyson from when the Usyk fight had been announced. Is Sugar now back in camp with Tyson?
Yeah, Sugar's there. Sugar's been there since the Whittaker fight. It's plenty of time. Tyson's always training. He's always fit. And there's so much time for them to get ready. They're a great partnership, and to watch Sugar work is a pleasure. I learned a lot from Sugar.
Would you say the challenge of Oleksandr Usyk is the toughest of Tyson's career so far?
It's not Wilder. Well, I don't know. It's like Wilder is like the final boss. Tyson's completed the game. Now he's getting all the reward. He's doing some bonus levels. Usyk is smaller, older, big amateur career, miles on the clock, just like Tyson. They talk about his footwork and his boxing ability, but Tyson's footwork and boxing ability is as good. He's slick. There's a lot of method. I love the European fighters, the Eastern European fighters, because everything they do, there's method behind it. There's science behind it. There's no guessing with those guys. The feints, the footwork. But Tyson's lined up some good sparring partners, as you know, and he's well up for this challenge. I've never seen Titan as motivated even like a year and a half or 2 years ago, whenever it was when this fight was where Usyk was being mentioned, how he'd come into the gym. He's going to be up for the fight.
Andy, also I've got you. Obviously, you had your young charge, Paddy Donovan, with an unbelievable victory again out in Ireland recently. Continues to go from strength to strength. How special of a talent do you feel Paddy Donovan is, and how far and how quickly will he achieve his goals?
Yeah, well, it's you still have to be careful with a young talent like that, and pick the right fights at the right time. But I'm glad he showed a little bit of what he can do, because I've seen Paddy do that in the gym multiple times to top fighters. So it's backing yourself and your own judgment. When I saw Paddy as an amateur, I said, this kid's got it. He can do it. And in November, he just showed a little bit of that. And he's only going to get better and better. He's a superstar, Paddy.
How much do you know about his sparring with Azim?
Yeah, the spars went great. Very competitive sparring. Two world-class young fighters. Like I missed it because I was in camp with Joseph and Tyson. I was in Saudi at the time, but the reports were good from both sides.
Potential mega fight down the line?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, it would be great. It would be good.
Andy, obviously, also want to get your thoughts on the other big fight this weekend, Joshua and Wilder. What's your take on it?
This car from
Joshua-Wallin.
Yeah. The card from top to bottom is stacked, isn't it? I think it's got to be one of the best cards in the history of the sport. When you look at Dimitri Bivol, Jaya Patai, Herkovic, and Sanchez, and all these great fights in the middle, Lyndon Alpha, all could be top of the bills themselves. It's nice. It's good to be part of it, but we're here to make a statement. And when we leave here, we want people talking about Joseph Parker.
So you have no interest in talking about the other fights?
Wallin's a very solid competitor, isn't he? Great fundamentals, great skills, great coach, Joey Gamache. I think that's a huge asset. But Joshua, he's been a champion. He's a wrecking ball when he wants to be. We'll see what Ben Davison brings to the table. It's still very early in their partnership. But Ben he'll do well with Ben, I'm sure.
Something I was going to ask you about. Obviously, Ben was in the camp when Tyson fought Otto. So, what do you make of that link up and how much Ben might bring in going into it?
I don't know. I'm not sure what Ben will know who he is. Ben studies a lot, so Ben will know all about Otto. We'll watch his fight with Grassiev and Rydell Booker and X, Y, and Z. But Tyson and Wilder are different. Tyson and Joshua are different fighters. So I just listen. He is a very solid opponent, but I'm not sure about the Tyson fight. Tyson was cut early. Wallin was quite dirty in the fight, which is you push the limits. You can do what you can until the referee tells you to stop. I think it's an excellent fight, but the main fight, I think the one people are most intrigued by is Joshua. Thank you.
Andy, I just want to squeeze one prediction out of you. Next year, Artur Beterbiev and Callum Smith. Is the timing right for Callum Smith?
It could be. Like we saw what Anthony had done. They're all different styles. You know what I mean? But it's a great matchup, isn't it? Callum. I remember sparring Callum in 2012, and he was a baby. I went to the Gallagher's gym. I sparred Callum Johnson, Ophi Burton, and Callum Smith, and Callum stood out. Callum really stood out.
Enough to give him the edge?
As I said about the Eastern European fighters, there's no guessing with them. They're machines, you know. They're drilled, so well schooled, so well drilled. So I think it's a very good match. An even match. It could, again, it's a pick-em fight, and it's hard to say who will win. But I give Callum a good chance at anybody.
Andy, listen, I appreciate you doing this interview. We've got obviously a busy few hours ahead of us with grand arrivals, so thank you for speaking to me, and I'll speak to you soon.
First of many.